When I was younger and at my most insecure, everything felt like an attack or everything felt personal. When I was overweight, I was a totally different version of myself. I was guarded and cold, and people in my life thought I was so wildly confident. I was like president of my school. I was, captain of this, captain of that. I was standing in front of the entire school giving speeches every single week. And I was doing film and theater. I was traveling across the country to come work on film sets in my spare time.
Hmm.
It looked like I was so happy. Um, and I wasn't, but I was happy about a lot of things. I loved my life, but there was this
Yeah.
insecurity in me that felt like I had to fight for space and fight for the room and fight to be in a space. So
Mm.
I work with a lot of clients, and if I smell victim, if I smell, you know, lack of motivation when it comes when if I feel like this client is saying I can't, I need to understand their story. What about your story?
Mm.
Because the women that I work with are incredible. This is what people don't realize about overweight, particularly overweight women. And this is something that I've learned working with hundreds of women. Every one of those women is a fucking badass. I don't know if you swear on your podcast, but
No,
they're
you know what?
badasses. They
Fucking
are.
swear all you want. I don't give a shit. Whatever the hell you got to do. Go ahead. That's why
Okay.
there's an explicit warning on there.
Perfect. They are. So I'm going to make a lot of generalizations right now, but I
Sure.
think a lot of them stand. Number one, women are forced into roles where we put everyone before ourselves every freaking day.
Hmm.
Everybody, we manage our husbands, our boyfriends, our jobs. We take on the roles in group projects, and I'm not talking about all women. I'm talking
Right.
particularly about the women that you guys are calling fat, and that's because they tend to be people pleasers. They tend to be type A. They tend to be micromanagers. They tend to want everyone in their life to be so, so, so happy. And they put themselves at the bottom of that list. Every freaking day they wake up and everybody else's happiness, their kids, their husband, their boyfriend, the guy they like across the street, their self worth is the last thing that they think about. Their goals are the last thing that they think about. But it doesn't apply to, they're badasses in the boardroom. They're badasses everywhere. They do all of these things. They have all of these skills. I know this from my personal story because if you looked at me, it looked like I had a lot going on. It looked like I just was running shit. But it was because I needed other people to love me so
Mm.
badly that my self worth didn't come into play. It was only validation from others. I was standing in a hall or in a circle with other people holding up mirrors of me. And if their reflection said I looked good, I looked good. But if I pivoted and looked in that mirror and I didn't look good, I would pivot to make myself look good in that mirror. And I was constantly pivoting for other people's mirrors. And I was never figuring out for myself what I needed, who I was. And so much of that means at the end of the day, I was so fucking burnt out from making other people happy and micromanaging their feelings and their feelings about themselves, their feelings about life, that when I would get home, I didn't have any coping mechanisms in place to take care of myself, to manage my own emotions, to do any of that. All that I had was food. I didn't have 2 hours to myself to go to the gym. I didn't have anything. I had food and a TV remote and numbness. I went all day pouring, pouring, pouring into other people. And I would come home, and the only thing I could do, I didn't want to pour into myself. I didn't have anything to give myself. All I had was a TV remote and Taco Bell. And that applies to so many of the women I have yet to meet a woman in my life who hasn't put everybody else that I coach or that I work with or that's struggling with her weight, that hasn't put every single other person before herself. And it's usually because she doesn't love herself unless someone loves her.
When you're talking about looking at yourself in other people's mirrors, right? The reflection of what they see and looking for that self worth. Why do we really search for that? Because we always say that other people's opinions don't matter, but those are the ones that we always seek out the most. And you're talking about how these women are badasses, and I completely agree with you. Often, they're moms and businesswomen, and they're putting everybody else first and taking care of them, and then they don't have time for themselves. And just like you said, you get home and maybe the only thing you had time for is, some TV show and food. How can people really get past looking at what other people think of them?
So the reason I know this is because I had to go to therapy for it. So I'm not saying I'm an
Mm,
expert in this. But
sure.
I think that when you are a kid, that starts because your self-worth becomes so shaped. A lot of us, some of us are just born badasses who just don't give a shit from an early age. But the people pleasers and the type A's and the ones who need to get an A on every assignment and the ones who need to be captain of the team. And those people don't stop doing that. They just stop calling it that. So as we
Mm,
age, getting that promotion or having the coolest car or the most Instagram followers or the most likes or all of those things, they're not separate from that sensation. They are that sensation. They, the needing to be the woman or the man at work who everybody turns to and everyone thinks is a badass is in its own way a sense of validation. And I think a lot of times what I talk with my clients about is the need for validation, the need for other people to clap for you. Once you know it's there, once you feel it, once you can tell that the reason you're doing something comes from an inauthentic place, it comes from a place of needing other people to clap and not because you love something, you start to notice it all around you. So if you're at that job and you're at that job because somebody else is clapping for you and not because you love it, you start to notice. And if you're in that relationship and you're staying in that relationship because you need somebody to clap for you and not because you love it, you start to notice. And when you start to take catalog of the things in your life that you're doing for other people and to please other people, you start to notice whether you're living your authentic story. I think we all, when we open up to it, have this version of our authentic story where we're really genuinely writing our life story every single day. And we only have so much time, we only have so many pages. And sometimes you're just so caught up in whether other people like the story that you're not writing it anymore. You're just coasting. And I mean, we all can get swept up into that, but if you learn it and you start practicing it and every day you think about what you really want, then it becomes a lot easier to align with that and to ignore the noise. Because here, this is kind of a gross metaphor, but I like to use it because I think it really gets itself across. If you if I need validation from you and you need validation from someone else and they need validation from someone else it's a fucking human centipede of dick sucking and glorification. You have your mouth on someone else's asshole who has their mouth on someone else's asshole. And the minute that you realize, what am I doing? This person that I need to clap for me doesn't even clap for themselves. It all goes out the window. The day that you realize that the people you want to love you hate themselves, it is this big eye-opening epiphany where you're like, what am I doing? Why am I standing here trying to circle jerk this entire room when these people don't like themselves. Everything that they're doing that they think is cool is because someone else told them it's cool. If you want to move to Bali and teach orphans, move to Bali and teach orphans. But if you want to open your own business and paper mache skeletons, who cares? Just do it. And if you want to be 320 pounds and then just be a fucking athlete, do it. Who cares if people clap? Clap for yourself.
yeah. Well, I'm clapping for you right now. You've got hundreds of thousands of people that follow you on social media. So when somebody's looking at you and they think like, I want to be like her, I want to do this, and then they're casting that shadow of doubt, maybe from seeing something that you did, thinking that they can't do it. What's your advice for them?
Well, first of all, I think our need to mimic other people's stories gets in the way of our own. So when you're looking at somebody else and you're thinking, I want to do what X, Y, and Z did, sometimes you're missing that yours could be so much cooler than mine. Like your story, you could say fuck yeah, and you could change the entire world. Like you could, I the people you put on this pedestal didn't do anything incredible. They just took a shot and they just took a risk, and maybe they're still taking shots and still taking risks, and you don't know. A lot of people with the most self-doubt look the most confident. But if you just decide to go after the things that set your soul on fire, you, one, will not go wrong, but two, could be bigger and better than anything that you're putting on a pedestal. And the minute that you start limiting yourself to, I want to be like her or look like her or train like her, you miss out on what's meant for you. And I learned that from my body, because back in the day when I was 320 pounds, all I saw were these little girls, and I thought, I want to look like her. I want to look like her. She's 5'2", she's cute, she's got these big boobs. I want to look like her. I didn't ever say, I want to see what the fuck my body can do. I just said, I want to look like her. And halfway through it, I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I am super strong, and I can do stuff she can't do. I want to look like me. I want to figure out who I am. And, that changed everything. The minute I stopped thinking I was competing or comparing, and I was just figuring out what I could do, the game changed. I think in life, in fitness, in anything, the game changes when it's not about catching up to somebody else. It's about running as fast as you fucking can.
I love that. So picking up the pen and writing your own story as opposed to letting someone else fill out those pages. And as you say, you don't have that many pages in your life, so might as well write your fucking story, as we can talk about, right?
Right.
I like it.
Yeah.